how can an investment banker work from here?
This is where I saw my first tiger.
But when we are on foot actually, isn't it risky? Isn't it scary?
About a month and a half ago, we'd seen a tigress with 3 cubs in this area.
You have very peculiar taste.
Just even before I looked down, my friend Mohit from the left suddenly says, put your window up, put your window up. And I looked down and the tiger is charging up at the car.
इस टाइम पे कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई हमें देख रहा हो.
कोई ना कोई तो देख ही रहा है.
What is it about living in jungle that you really love?
तो जंगल में सब कुछ एक सेकंड में बदल सकता है.
See, to be honest, I love my job. But there are days when I love it even more. And this is one of those days.
Jim Corbett, India का first and the most prestigious national park. Blessed with gorgeous landscapes of swamps, rivers, forests and hills, Corbett has become a destination that is far bigger than the national park itself. और दिल्ली से पास होने की वजह से this has become one of the busiest getaways because tourists coming to Corbett are not just limited to wildlife lovers only. And sadly, it is also one of the most popular wedding and corporate outings destination. लेकिन दर्जनों जीप्स के साथ शोर शराबे में की गई सफारीज आर जस्ट नॉट माई थिंग. पर आज की ये कहानी इज एज मच अबाउट कॉर्बेट एज अबाउट अ पर्सन हु फेल इन लव विद दिस प्लेस एंड मेड इट हिज होम. और घर भी ऐसी जगह बनाया जहां पहुंचने के लिए थोड़ी मेहनत तो लगेगी. This is the home of Shunando Sen, an entrepreneur and an investment banker whose love for nature and wildlife led him to create a piece of private wilderness.
Quite a hideout यार. I mean, quite literally भी हम लोग जब नीचे रोड से ये पूरे आपके जीप ट्रैक पे आए, तो भी even till we reached your gate, even when we reached your gate, I couldn't see anything.
No.
अच्छा शायद बहुत बड़ी प्रॉपर्टी है, शायद अंदर जाके कहीं होगा. So you have literally quite preserved it.
I have preserved it. And you know, this whole track, this last 4 kilometers track works, I think, well for me. वो 4 kilometer on that bumpy dirt track, when people come up, they're expecting almost basic tents. So after that, you know, they're quite happy with, you know, in this corner, whatever stuff we have here.
No, and whatever you have, even, I mean, I noticed the kind of cottages that you have built, they seem to integrate and blend well with the kind of...
That's, you know, that's always been the intention, you know, that it blends in, So I think our earlier structures, our first cottage chukar and, you know, the kitchen, etc., we built out of stones which we just got from the property. After that, honestly, stone, it takes us too long a time. After that, we built stuff with bricks, but these are also bricks built on the property itself, you know. Yeah, so we try to make it as low impact and basically stuff that we can do with the local guys, because, you know, any employment we can provide is always helpful, and that makes a big difference here. So I, you know, as I've told you, I've loved animals and wildlife from the time I was a kid, absolutely. And Corbett, so the first tiger I saw in the wild was at Corbett, and that was way back in 1993 when I'd come as a kid with my parents all the way from Calcutta. And from Elephant back I saw a wild tiger, and I suppose fundamentally it changed my life in a way, because after many years I found myself back here. So I always used to keep coming to Corbett as I was growing up, when I was working, etc. But for a few years I was out of the country, etc. So it used to be infrequent trips. But then around 2009 onwards, when I came back to India and then I was based out of Delhi, I really started coming to Corbett, and I was lucky enough to meet a couple of people, you know, who really knew Corbett well. And it's just such a beautiful place. So the more I saw of it, the more I said that, you know, this is where I want to be.
I thought once initially I've seen sirf upar wala cottage Bagh. Thought what a great location. Now this one again same feeling. What a great location because it's matlab ye
And this has
aisa
that
hai
whole stone
Haan,
thing.
the stone
It's lovely. You know, I love this. It's just that it's too painstaking, and unfortunately, again, this is also dying out. You know, around here also we have now the guy who built this. He lives way down there below.
Oh.
You know, and he's become old now. His son is not in, doesn't know this craft or anything. He's not even here. So again, these things are dying out here.
But I'm really interested in knowing that how can an investment banker work from here?
The power of technology. The power of technology, and you know, that's why I spent a lot of time and a decent amount of money in making sure I get Wi-Fi here. Because, and that
How did
happened.
you manage Wi-Fi in such wilderness here?
I mean, yeah, long drawn out process. So, you know, it gets beamed or line of sight. You know, you would have seen this receiver above your cottage. So it gets beamed all the way from almost Kashipur, which by road is 67 kilometers from here. I think about 3-4 years ago, my parents were actually moving house. You know, they were moving to an apartment because they were growing older. And so my mother suddenly called me one day from Calcutta, and she said, you know, I just realized that from the time you were a small child, your key interest was just animals and wildlife, because she was basically going through a lot of stuff on what to, you know, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh, your old stuff.
Old stuff. I mean, she was basically going through everything in the house since they were moving house and seeing what needs to be discarded, what needs to be carried, etc. And she came up through all my childhood books and all. And she said every book you bought was about either dogs or animals or wildlife or whatever, etc. So I think, yeah, I mean, somewhere it was always there.
Shenando is not just a great host but also an encyclopedia on Corbett and its wildlife. और उनके साथ एक डस्क ड्राइव पे जाना मतलब कहानियों का पिटारा खोलना.
So at this bend, this is where I saw my first tiger, you know, outside the national park after I moved here. It was an early morning and I was just driving down towards Ramnagar. I think about 6:30 in the morning, and you see that bend, that little culvert kind of thing, bend.
Right.
The tiger was sitting.
अच्छा आराम से मतलब almost और उस टाइम ये रोड थी.
हाँ, रोड थी. Traffic और भी कम थी. Road was in a bad condition. Very little traffic. And it was early morning, so the guy wasn't expecting there to be any traffic. So he was sitting there. I just came around the bend, saw me, jumped up, and then, you know, crossed and went down into the forest. But yeah.
So, but you got a good, not just a glimpse. You got a
proper. I
good
mean,
view.
for, you know, 10-15 seconds at least. ठीक से देखा. So that was a great experience. So that was the first. That kind of. I always knew there were tigers, etc. But that was when I first saw one, you know, very close by here.
But what's your basic strategy whenever you spot? You just stop and observe?
Yeah, just stop. See, my intention is always to watch rather than disturb it or move away. So I would always stop, switch off the engine. You know, unless it's an elephant, then I need to keep my engine running or something. Switch off the engine, maybe even switch off lights if I have lights, and, you know, just get the guy, you know, get the animal less disturbed. Then maybe it'll again come out openly and move around in front of you. This area we call Tiger Point.
Okay.
This is typically, you know, this little area is where on the road we maximum come across tigers, and especially earlier there we used to have one tigress called Maharani, who we named Maharani, who we used to see very often in the evenings. Not very often, but every couple of months we would bump into her in the evening or in the morning around here. So we call this Tiger Point. But there was one occasion when, you know, I was going down about 8 in the evening we left Tunau, 7:38 in the evening we left Tunau, and we were basically going down to Ramnagar to take the night train, overnight train, which leaves at 10 o'clock. And as we came here, right where we are standing here, absolutely where the, you know, road turns.
You're right.
You know, me and my friend sitting in front, we saw unmistakable silhouette of a tiger going down. And I just came breaking to a halt where I thought the tiger had gone down. And as I looked, I mean, just even before I looked down, my friend Mohit from the left suddenly says, put your window up. And I looked down and the tiger is charging up at the car.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was crazy. And, you know, I was driving a Scorpio and we had a lot of saman kept on the window control. So I didn't have any time to put the window up, but I just accelerated the car. And then, you know, she came running after the car.
Oh, even chased?
Yeah, she even chased us for about maybe, I think, 20-30 feet, I'm not sure. And then she kind of went back in. So I also stopped and then I'm looking back and then suddenly my friend who's sitting at the back says, there are 2 more tigers. I said, no wonder she charged us, because, you know, tigers usually don't charge. But this was a mother who had 2 sub-adult cubs with her. And if you see what she was doing, she was just roaming around peacefully, walking along a deserted road, you know, after dark, after humans' time has come. And suddenly she gets literally charged at by my car.
So basically she just responded.
So she just responded in a protective manner.
Oh man, this is the sound of silence.
Sound of silence, so the sun going down. You know, this is what we call EOD, end of day here.
That's your EOD.
Yeah, that's EOD. And here EOD happens. You know, the days here are more in sync with nature. Once it's dark, you're kind of inside. Your day is done, you go to sleep early. And when the sun rises, you're up.
Do you hear animal sounds at the night?
Yeah, we hear animal sounds a lot at night. I mean, we actually hear most around early dusk, etc. Because, you know, that's when the big cats start their movement. And that time there's some light for the prey to see them. So that's when you hear the maximum calls. But throughout the night, every now and then you will hear some alarm calls. Then you'll suddenly hear an owl or something. And I love owl calls. Owl calls are haunting, they have a lot of character in them. I make you hear a few calls. Then you'll know what I'm talking about.
You have very peculiar taste.
Very cool guys.
Next day, it was time for a thrilling adventure when I, along with Shunando and 2 of his team members, embarked on a walking safari.
So here we are kind of at the beginning of the Amaninder, what we call the Amaninder of Mohan walking safari. And you know, the reason we call this the Amaninder of Mohan walking safari is because this is the area in which, you know, in 1930, Jim Corbett actually shot a Amaninder which used to roam around in this area. So we are basically walking in the same footsteps where the Amaninder and Corbett followed him. So yeah, so this is about, you know, from to now we do this, it's about a 9-kilometer walking safari through dense buffer forests of Corbett. So these are forests where we are on foot, and unlike when you go in for safari, there's no one else. It's just you with nature, with the elements.
But when we are on foot, actually, isn't it risky? Isn't it scary?
So I think there's a combination of 2 things. One is, you know, you have to be with people who understand the jungle well and can really, you know, who have the eyes and ears to really keep a watch out for things in the forest and read the signs of the forest about any movement of animals, etc. And the second thing is, animal behavior is not like that. Animals really want to avoid you. So the reason why when we walk through these forests we often don't see anything is not because the animals are not there, because they've heard us and they're keeping a safe distance from us, just watching us from the background. You know, it's very often said, you may not have seen the tiger, but the tiger's surely seen you.
Wow.
So, but that's how it is.
So there is a good possibility कि इस time पे कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई हमें देख रहा होगा.
कोई ना कोई तो देख ही रहा होगा. and if you can see here, this is elephant dung. So like I was telling you, this forest is full of animals. Whether we come across this guy or not, let's see. But this is not that recent. This is maybe about a week old. So
a week?
Yeah.
वो आप देख के बता सकते हो, is it?
You know, when it's softer, when it's fresher, it'll be a lot more moist and all. Like this, as it gets older, will start crumbling and decomposing.
But the good thing is it's not smelling.
You see these few bones here?
Yeah.
So these are remnants of a sambar, small sambar. It's bones from that. These bones are, I think, almost a month and a half old. About a month and a half ago, we'd seen a tigress with 3 cubs in this area, and we'd seen her from far. But we wanted to come back and see if we can catch a glimpse of them. And my Umaid and I, we had come here, and right at this very spot when we came, this was a very fresh kill. I mean, there was not a single fly on that kill. It was that fresh. It was
It must be the same day, a few hours back.
So I think it was not even a few hours back. In the sense, half the kill was here. And as we were standing and looking and wondering whether to go ahead and where the tiger could be, we heard a couple of sounds at that time which sounded to us like, bones being crunched.
So he must have taken the other part and eating it.
Yes. So that was about about 100 meters away from us. So then I think we said discretion's the better part of valor. We beat a hasty retreat from here. So
I think, that's what they say, even for dogs as well. कि खाते हुए animal को अगर आप disturb करोगे, that's.
I mean, this is a matter of his survival. He needs to eat to survive. So he's not going to be happy if you disturb him. But yeah, let's see.
And it's so lovely that you even remember all these spots as well. कौन सी चीज़ कहाँ है? So Sunando, what is it about living in jungle that you really love? Because you literally live in jungle. मतलब ठीक है, technically वो buffer zone है or whatever, लेकिन still, I mean, to us city folks, it is jungle.
Yeah, I think for me, one is, of course, I'm very crazy about animals and wildlife and their conservation. So living in a place where I'm surrounded by huge diversity of wildlife and nature. If you look at this forest all around, old trees, we saw some really nice birds while coming in here. I mean, just the fact that you never know. There's a saying, one of my favorite driver in the park, he says, "So jungle में सब कुछ एक second में बदल सकता है." And that's exactly what the fun of the jungle is. You never know. It's very quiet, very peaceful. You wake up, there's some birds chirping or something, and suddenly something will happen in the forest. So that's the excitement.
The excitement
really. That's the excitement. And otherwise, even when you don't see wildlife or something, just the opportunity to just sit beside this mountains, lovely mountain stream in the middle of the forest with literally nobody else around. I think that really works for me. Yeah. Once Umair and I, we were walking through this forest which we just came through, and so suddenly what happened is that we suddenly heard a tiger calling from the hill on the other side. And then soon enough we spotted it coming. It was walking along the ridge. We are standing here and the tiger was on the other side, at a peaceful distance, but it's calling and coming along.
And all along आप लोग देख सकते हो.
हम देख रहे हैं झाड़ी में अंदर बाहर से जा रहे हैं. And it's coming this side. Suddenly, we're watching it, and then we said, okay, let's go towards it a bit to try to get a nice photograph of the tiger. And as the two of us were going towards the tiger, which we are looking at, and it's calling from maybe about 100 meters away, suddenly from our right, about 20 meters away, another tiger rode. So we were basically in between a mating pair, calling out to each other. So I think that's the fastest I've ever climbed a tree. I never knew I had such good tree climbing skills. So next half an hour, the two of us went up on the tree. So things like that happen, and that's really the fun of it. And even when people are coming to Corbett, if they want to do a lot of the day safaris, we are a little far away from the gates. We say this may not be the best place for you, but if you want to really explore nature and you want to walk through forests which you will never have the chance otherwise to walk through, and there's a little butterfly sitting there. There's so many things to look at as you come through the forest, and so many things to experience. So it's not just about being in the middle of 20 gypsies surrounding one tiger, So.
So I feel that, see, to be honest, I love my job. But there are days when I love it even more. And this is one of those days, यार. मतलब कहाँ imagine हम कर सकते हैं river side पे having एकदम fresh, delicious food. थोड़ा ठंडा हो गया है, लेकिन ठीक है. The views make up for it, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's just peaceful being here, and if we spend a little more time here, we'll probably see a few kingfishers, etc. come more towards evening. When you see these things in the monsoon, they are in a different, they're at a different level. That's when you really feel humbled and small in front of the force of nature. And it's the most beautiful. It's just lush green. Like right now, you'll be seeing a lot of things are looking dry
and bad.
But in the monsoon, it's absolutely lush green. And you also see during the course of a monsoon day, you see like everything. You see clouds. You see suddenly after some heavy rain, it'll be completely bright, and then there'll be clouds again, and it'll be a gorgeous sunset. So yeah, I think monsoon. I think it's important to keep in mind when you come to a place, we are fortunate people. We have a lot more resources than what people here have. So while you enjoy the place, how do you leave this place a little better than when you came? So rather than actually, transporting some of your city life into that, force-fitting that and making it overcrowded and unsustainable, how do you make the thing a little better for the villagers around and the ecosystem around? True. So I think that's important.
एक चीज है जो मैं कभी नहीं भूलता हूँ. It is to genuinely feel blessed to be able to go to such places and meet such people. Corbett का ये experience is quite unlike the usual Corbett trip. If you're looking for a regular resort with manicured lawns and loud music in the evenings, then this place is just not for you. On the other hand, if you're looking to experience nature and wildlife in a way few others can, then Tanhau is a destination like no other. Shunando is not just an investment banker, but someone who in his own way is investing in conservation, rural upliftment, and finding life's true happiness.